My soon-to-be husband called me by his assistant's name during sex. My so and I have been high school sweethearts and we are due to get married this June. We just have a chemistry that works extremely well and always did. I, F27, love him, M28, very much and I know he loves me too, but with what he did recently I am having extreme doubts about his faithfulness. We are trying to get pregnant and when we had sex a few days ago he called me by his assistant's name right as he got off. He immediately got up and apologized and seemed extremely shocked. I was shocked too. After that, he has been very apologetic and seemed genuinely remorseful, but I am having difficulty coming around to forgiving him. The way he said it too came across as he was thinking about her. The only other person I have told about this is my mom and dad, and she thinks that my BF has or currently sleeps with his assistant and that his tongue slipped up. I am having doubts because now everything looks suspicious to me. He goes to Dallas once every 2 weeks and his assistant accompanies him. Those are work trips and are paid for by his company, but those are starting to look suspicious to me now. 3 months ago I got laid off from work and he asked me if I wanted to stay at home since we are trying to have a child and I could be a stay-at-home mother. Now I don't know if I should depend on him or try to get a job or not. My life is just filled with confusion all of a sudden. Honestly, I didn't think he would ever cheat on me, but I can't think of a reason why someone would say someone else's name after sex. His explanation is that he was thinking about work and that is why his assistant's name slipped up. He has tried to fix things but they don't seem enough for some reason. He told me if I want I can go through his phone or his computer and I did, but I did not find anything. I want to trust him, I really do, but it feels foolish to me to do so now. My mom thinks he is 100% cheating while my dad agrees. He also thinks that it could be a mistake and I should make sure before I end the relationship. He does think that I should 100% be mad at him even if it was a slip-up. I don't know what to do with us being so close to getting married. Advice, please. Relevant comments. Dear_NDB. Well, I can tell for sure that if he works with college a lot it can happen. Do this and that, Jessica. Did you send reports, Jessica? When you do this all day it can come out automatically. I've seen it by myself. Sometimes my college names his GF in name of our girl college. It can happen. When you were little you probably called the school teacher as mom, no? Talk things out with him. Tell that it's bugging you a lot. OP. I haven't thought about this and this could be a possibility. I have been to his workplace and he does take her name quite a lot. Still, saying it during sex is still a bit too much, but if this is the case I think I can forgive him. I just have to find a way to make sure it isn't something else. Unable Snow 5924. Use your own money and you should surprise him in Dallas on his next trip. OP. He is supposed to leave tonight. I can visit him tomorrow since I have time. Unable Snow 5924. Well, I would show up after work at his apartment and see if his assistant is actually staying in a hotel. OP. Yeah, I just booked a ticket. I won't mind spending a day or two in Dallas myself if everything is like he says it is. Own Brother 2559. Do you have keys to the apartment? I'd go there, hang out, and wait for him to get home. You know, for a surprise. OP. I don't have the keys to that apartment. I can visit him at night time. He should be home alone at that time. Update May 16, 2022, 3 weeks later. A lot to unwrap here, but I'll start by thanking those who decided to try to help me out here. He came from the last trip and when he went again I decided to go then. When I went to his apartment I found her there along with some other people. His co-workers were all planning to go out. I made up a story about why I was there to make sure he wasn't embarrassed in front of his coworker because I stormed into his apartment and I think that worked. They all went out after that. He stayed back and we had a fight because according to him I just humiliated him in front of his colleagues. Right now things are tense between us. He stayed back in Dallas saying he needs some space and we haven't talked after that. I don't know if I was trying to catch the act or not, but it didn't work out and now I feel 100 times worse. I regret telling my mom about this because she sent a VN to him and told him to stop being a baby and nothing would have happened if didn't say another woman's name. He sent me the VN my mom sent him. I did confront my mom about this and she did apologize to him. Now I feel like maybe it was an honest mistake on his part and that I blew it out of proportion. Waiting on him to come back so we can talk it out and fix this and move forward. Just a little update. Things didn't go well like I wanted to. Relevant comments. The Clumsy Pirate. Did the assistant have any reaction to seeing you? Was she cold or surprised or anything? Honestly, this could be a harmless slip on his end, but I would do my diligence before the wedding. No matter how angry he gets. Divorces are so much harder than breakups. If you're trying to set the record straight before moving forward, he shouldn't be resistant about it. It was him who said another woman's name in bed, you didn't start any of it. OOP. Everyone was a little surprised to see me there TBH, not just her. My partner was surprised too. We aren't getting married. We are no longer engaged. Probably in the future. He is a pretty straightforward guy himself. Either he'll end it or be okay with it. Things are bad and I'm gonna give him time and let him come and talk to me. Poinsettia 917. Info: why was it bad that you surprised him? What was wrong with you being around his colleagues and especially his assistant? If he loves you, he should be glad to see you. What was the deal? What did you say when you entered the apartment that could have embarrassed him? To be honest, I'm not liking his behavior. What is up with his friends? This whole thing is messed up. What is he doing talking about this with his assistant? Update me. OOP. I don't know what I said exactly because I was very angry at the time, but as I mentioned in the post above, I stormed into his apartment and was accusatory. I did salvage the situation though, but I think in his mind that wasn't good enough. Edit. Forgot to mention my BF told me that he told his assistant about this and she made the same mistake a while back with her fling because they refer to each other a lot. Second edit. He left his Mac at home so I decided to see if he was talking to her or not. I just opened his WhatsApp and he is not talking to her, but his friends are all telling him to break up with me. Like I didn't even do anything drastic. His chat with his assistant is work-related, but I am disturbed by what his friends take. Looks like a breakup is about to happen. I let him break up with me because I think I'd get closure that way. Relevant comments. The Clumsy Pirate. I am sorry that this is such a mess OP, but I am also looking at your edit and it's not good. I understand being a straightforward guy, but is he very simple? Because unless he is, how he would explain saying that to his assistant. Yeah, so this awkward thing happened between me and my fiancé because of you, the assistant. How does he justify disclosing something intimate to her? He knows this is embarrassing for you as well. The more the story transpires, the more it seems like you actually were right to be wary of it. At the very least it seems like there's some emotional entanglement going on here for him to not realize that sharing this with the girl is out of line. OOP. He is quite simple. Doesn't like to play games or make things complicated. He did and she did something similar, but I can't say for sure how that topic might have come up. Right now reading his messages with his friends, I do hate it and it hurts like shit that they are all rooting for him to break up. The situation is a total mess honestly and I don't see a way back now. Let's try again. Why do his friends want him to break up with you? What are their reasons? OOP. Mostly because they think I ruined his relationship with my family forever and that since I don't trust him, he should put his energy somewhere else. Most of them are in this realm. A few think I did it in front of his coworkers to jeopardize his job. It's hard reading their messages. Thread edit. Reading his chat for a while, and the last thing he said was, "I'll end it when I see her next." So it's pretty much over. Moving to the next story. My fiancé broke up with me because my parents have a non-conventional marriage. We've been together for 6 years. We've known each other for another 3 years before that, so 9 years total. We're getting married in February. Or we were, I don't know anymore. We're visiting my parents to meet some more of my extended family, so they get to know him before the wedding. My parents offered to host us, and we've been staying in my old room. I'm F29, he's M32. We are staying with my parents. My fiancé wanted to stay at a hotel, but I thought it would be fun to sleep in my old room. And to be here with my mom and dad one last time under their roof before I become a married woman. My parents have been in a non-conventional marriage for a long time. It was a shock for me to learn about it, and I learned to cope with it. I am not necessarily comfortable with their lifestyles, but I can't do anything about it. They basically go on dates with other people, spend time with other people, sleep with other people. Had to learn it when I came home a few days earlier from a trip with a friend's family, and my father was sleeping next to another woman, when I was 16. I freaked out then, and my parents had to explain to me it was all fine. So my fiancé could not sleep last night, and went outside for some fresh air because he is not used to sleeping away from our bed back home. And he found my mom kissing another guy in my parents' foyer. So he freaked out, started yelling at her, came and woke me up, demanded I call my father and tell him he found my mom cheating on him. So my mom had to explain to my fiancé about my parents' non-conventional marriage, but it didn't go well with him. And once it seemed like he was calming down and started to accept what my mom was telling him, he figured out I knew about their marriage, and he started freaking out on me. He told me that he can't trust me anymore, that he was set up, that I insisted we stay with our parents so that I can ease him in the idea, so I can enforce my parents' principles on our own marriage, and I simply can't get through to him. My fiancé has been cheated on before, his parents have divorced because his mom cheated on his dad, and he doesn't have a good relationship with her. He could barely stomach the idea of having her come to our wedding. He went to a hotel tonight, and said he will be leaving back home tomorrow. He's not really answering his phone or texting back. He says he needs to reevaluate our engagement, that he doesn't think he can marry me knowing I approve of my parents' marriage style. That I wanted to manipulate him and introduce this lifestyle in our relationship. The truth is I am ashamed of my parents and their relationships, and I had no idea they would behave like this while my fiancé is around, let alone sleeping in their house. He simply doesn't believe me because I haven't talked about it since I've met him. It's not something I find easy to talk about, and the less I think about it the better. How can I talk with him? I have no interest in my parents' style of relationship. I am fully dedicated to my fiancé, and I have never been interested in another person since I've met him. I don't want to lose him over this stupid thing, and I feel ashamed he had to find out about my parents like this. I'd have preferred he never knew. Please, if anyone has any ideas, I am interested in any suggestions. Thank you. Relevant comments. Tired off dancing. Yeah, you let him learn about that in the worst possible way. I am not excusing his behavior, but I get his reaction. You insisted on staying in their house and you knew his past trauma. I would totally expect you to have told him by now. You are engaged and your parents very alternate to him. Lifestyle is a big issue. It's not your parents' responsibility to cater to his needs when it's their home and their actions not a secret. You seem to not be understanding at all that you should not have hid it, and wanting him to never know is the wrong idea to begin with and what got you this mess. Stop hiding shit like this and share it in a way that makes it clear you don't approve. OP. I would have at least expected my parents to be able to control themselves, at least for the few days we were supposed to be here, but I guess that was too much to wish for. I didn't necessarily hide this from him, but it never came about. And I am so uncomfortable talking about it. It was never something I even thought about mentioning. He doesn't talk about his mom that much. I learned what I did about her and how his parents' marriage ended from his sister. And honestly, I thought it would be nice to sleep in my old room, and be there one last time before I get married. There were no malicious intentions here. Pixelated nuts. Honestly, you and your family couldn't have handled this worse. This is something you bring up before he meets them. Especially with his issues. I mean, he is your fiancé, when were you planning on telling him? He is thinking the apple didn't fall far from the tree here, and it is hard to fault him given your insistence on staying there, your mom's behavior, and not getting a heads up beforehand. You gotta let him know, with no fucking hedging or omissions, that you 100% do not want a lifestyle like this. Be direct, be honest, and be prepared for him to resent the shit out of your parents for a while. OP. Thanks. To be honest, he doesn't talk about his family either. I learned about his parents' divorce from his sister, who is more comfortable talking about it. It also never came into discussion, there was never a proper time to tell him, and my parents fuck around. I guess before we came to visit here, sure, but I was thinking my parents would be on their better behavior while we'll be here. I guess mom had other ideas, sad face. OP explains her childhood and thoughts on her parents. Downvoted commenter. Anyone who would shame you for A, something you're not responsible for, and B, isn't anything wrong needs to grow up and accept there are differences in how people live their lives. What if you two had a child who ended up being LGBT or in a poly relationship? Would he freak out and kick them out of his life too? You're better off without a judgmental asshole like this in your life. OP. With the risk of having the mods punish me, I have to say it, your comment is incredibly condescending and dumb. Full of assumptions. My parents have spent more weekends with their partners than they did with their children. We were always offloaded to an aunt or to our grandparents Friday night, no exception, except birthdays and special occasions like that. Only when I got older and learned about their lifestyle have I understood what they were doing. My shame is not for how they live their lives, my shame is for how they treated me, how they prioritized their own pleasure over the sake of mine and my brothers and my sisters. I don't have to accept their lifestyle because in doing so I validate their behavior, I validate every minute we were robbed of a happy family life. I heard my parents fighting, one time my mother yelling they shouldn't have had 3 fucking children. You see, having 3 children was a complication to how much time they had for themselves, how long they could spend with other people. Don't come and try to shame me, try pointing fingers at me, and play the homophobic card with me. How is that reflective of my parenting skills? I don't know, and I think you are projecting your own insecurities over my experiences. If that makes you feel better, power to you, but I am not falling victim to this game. And from my parents prioritize their own pleasure for the sake of their children to you're homophobic is such a long jump, you must have superpowers to be able to so perfectly execute it. So yes, I am ashamed of my parents, and I do not approve of their lifestyle. Had they been better parents, had they cared more about their children than their pleasures, sure, maybe we'd have a different conversation. As we stand, no, we cannot. Boop provides 2 updates in the comments. Comment October 1st 2019. I've already talked with him, and I am staying in the hotel room with him tonight, since it's already paid for and it will be fun. Tomorrow we will move to my grandma's house, until the end of the week. We came here to meet the extended family, and that's what we will do. My parents have finally found it within themselves to apologize, but it no longer matters. For what it's worth, I didn't blame the situation on my parents when we met earlier. Aside from what my parents do in their spare time, I never had a secret from him. He knows I know about his mom, and I told him that if he ever wants to talk about her, I am here to listen, and I understand why he avoids talking about her. He also apologized for his outburst and reaction, but he was honest and told me he doesn't think he will be that close to my parents, in general. And I am fine with that, since I don't have that close of a relationship with them anyway. I have told him how much he hurt me, saying he needs to reevaluate our engagement, and he acknowledges he wasn't thinking when he spoke those words, and also said he regrets them so much he was afraid he damaged our relationship. He didn't damage it, but I told him if I could predict the future, flowers are what I'd see, ha. So that's it, pretty much. Relevant comment. OP on why she never shared the info of her parents' lifestyle to her fiancé. He's met my parents several times. We are here to meet my extended family, aunts, uncles, cousins, stuff like that. We live in a different state. He's met some of them, but not all, and we wanted them to have an idea who my fiancé is, not to see him for the first time at the wedding. We have known each other for 9 years, the first 3 we were more like acquaintances. Friend of a friend type of thing, and we would meet when everyone had a group meeting or a party or a birthday, etc. Then 6 years ago we had a fight at a friend's "we are getting married" announcement party, and we were really passionate and stubborn and neither of us would give an inch. And a friend told us to kiss and make up already, and we did, and here we are. But this entire time we've lived in our own state, where his family is, while my parents and the rest of my family are in the state we are currently visiting. I am being vague on purpose. I never planned to let him know about my parents unless it became a conversation item. It was never something I had to share, or felt the need to do so. I don't really like thinking about it. Final update from OOP. Comment October 2, 2019. Thank you. I'm still reading through the comments, because this thread has become way bigger than I expected. My parents did apologize, but they justified themselves by saying it was a planned night. Which I find ridiculous, as they have invited us to stay with them over a month ago. How far along into the future do you plan your fun nights? I refuse to think they planned their little indiscretion since more than a month ago. Bottom line is, they knew we would be there, they invited us, and they didn't care. The idea of not inviting them to the wedding started floating through my mind yesterday, while reading the thread, but I am not sure what I will end up doing. They are my parents, they are my responsibility. My fiancé got to see them for who they are and how they are for himself. He now knows why I don't really talk about them. Aside from our little bump in the relationship the other night, we should be fine. We actually ordered 2 books from Amazon, at the recommendation of other Redditors, with all kit of relationship tests and lessons. And we will maybe even go to therapy as a couple. This is not yet set in stone, we'll see. Thank you for the kind words.